On my soul, bro. On my soul, yo. Like, I'm hurt. I'm hurt like a motherfucker, G. I'm hurt like a motherfucker, yo, because I can't even believe I just did, and I don't even know what just pushed me to snap like that, yo. I don't even know what just pushed me to snap like that, G. That shit, I just lost it. I just lost it, bro. It's over with. It's over with, G. All that, man, look. Ain't no motherfuckers ain't gonna see me no more, G. I ain't running. I've been on a run over a year and a half. I'm not running from these people no more, bro. They come get me, bro. They come get me, bro. They come get me. That's all I'm gonna say is they come get me, Joe.
This is Larry, a young man who would become infamous for posting a disturbing live video just moments after executing an unimaginable act. He had just gunned down his girlfriend's entire family when she had told him a shocking truth. In the late hours of February 21st, 2021, a frantic 911 call alerted police to a series of gunshots ringing out near an apartment complex. When officers arrived, they found unconscious bodies lying on the pavement. But it was the boy just a few feet away who froze their blood. He had witnessed his own father, Larry, coldly shooting his mother. As investigators scrambled for answers, they stumbled upon a chilling piece of evidence: security footage capturing the entire scene. But even more chilling was the revelation of who the killer was. Larry, his face eerily calm, had turned the weapon on her family after a confession from his girlfriend shattered whatever restraint he had left. But what could have driven him to such a brutal, cold-blooded act? And perhaps the most perplexing question of all, why, after committing such a monstrous act, would Larry choose to broadcast his confession to the world instead of running? But before the shooting, let me take you back to where their paths crossed, and we will uncover 5 red flags that could have protected Lasagna Agee. Lasagna Agee's story is one of love, betrayal, and ultimately, survival. Born and raised in Chicago, she was a 24-year-old mother with a young son, a job at the United States Postal Service, and a growing small business that sold cosmetics. On the outside, Lasagna appeared to be living the American dream. She was hardworking, driven, and seemed to have everything going for her. But behind closed doors, she was living a nightmare. She had been in a relationship with Larry Sistrunk, a man who had once been her partner in everything, but who, over time, had become her tormentor. Despite her love for him, Larry subjected Lasagna to mental and physical abuse. But it never started like that. Their relationship seemed perfect at first. They had a son together in 2017, and everything appeared to be falling into place. But soon, small disagreements about daily life escalated into full-blown fights, and those fights turned darker. The abuse, which started off as verbal and emotional, quickly became physical. For years, Lasagna tried to make things work. She wanted to believe that Larry's behavior was just a phase, that things would get better. But as time went on, the abuse only worsened. There came a point when Lasagna realized that if she stayed with Larry, he might one day kill her. This realization was a turning point in her life, and though it was incredibly difficult, Lasagna made the decision to leave him. She didn't have the luxury of a strong support system. Lasagna had lost her mother at a young age and didn't have close relationships with family members who could help. She felt isolated and trapped in the relationship, but deep down, she knew she had to break free, for the sake of her son and for her own survival. But leaving Larry was not as simple as packing up and walking out. In fact, it was anything but easy. After enduring years of torment, Lasagna finally made a brave choice. She secretly moved into a new apartment and didn't tell Larry where she was. She also filed a restraining order, hoping this would be enough to force Larry to let her go. But like many abusive partners, Larry didn't respect the order. He found out where she was living and forced his way into her new home. When she called the police, he fled the scene before they could arrest him. Lasagna hoped this was the last time she would have to deal with him, but she was wrong. The very next day, Larry came back, this time hiding in her utility closet. When Lasagna walked in, he confronted her, brandishing a gun. Her grandmother was also there, and she witnessed the terrifying moment. Larry had become enraged, not just because she had left him, but because she had signed a lease for the apartment without his permission. The situation became even more dangerous when Larry destroyed Lasagna's apartment in a fit of rage.
Niggas be hungry.
Breaking windows and causing so much damage that her landlord told her she had to leave. Lasagna was left with nowhere to go. She felt defeated and in her desperation returned to Larry, believing it was her only choice. But life with him only got worse. The abuse became more frequent and violent. Lasagna often had visible injuries, black eyes, bruises, and though she went to the police multiple times to report him, nothing seemed to change. Despite multiple visits to the police, Larry continued to torment Lasagna. The police treated the situation as a domestic dispute, rather than the life-threatening situation it truly was. Lasagna, however, couldn't take it anymore. In an attempt to regain control of her life, she managed to save money, bought a car, and tried to move forward. She took pictures of the car, but one day Larry would find them. He destroyed the car, driving it into a garage and causing irreparable damage, all the while tightening his grip on her. Lasagna's supervisor at the USPS took notice of her injuries and offered support, even arranging for coworkers to walk her home after work so that she wouldn't be alone. The Postal Service also offered to relocate her to a safer location, providing Lasagna with some hope for a better future. She saved more money, bought a second car, and kept it hidden from Larry. But one day when he found out about the car, he exploded in anger. At this point, Lasagna realized the depth of her predicament. Every time she took a step forward, Larry would find a way to drag her back. She tried to leave, but he used their son as leverage. She took the boy away and told Lasagna that she wouldn't see him again unless she returned to him. This devastated Lasagna. She wanted to leave him, but she couldn't bear the thought of losing her son. She kept trying to take back control, but with each failed attempt, her hope was crushed. Lasagna was desperate to get her son back and went to the police for help again, but they told her this was a custody issue and not something they could solve since Larry was the boy's father, not a stranger. Lasagna's life seemed like an endless cycle of fear and hopelessness, yet she never gave up. She kept filing police reports, seeking legal help, and even managed to get another restraining order against Larry. Despite everything, she tried to keep going. She returned to work hoping for a brighter future, and even bought a third car, believing that transportation would help her get away from Larry for good. Just when it seemed like things were finally starting to turn around, little did Lasagna know, her world would rear-end again. One day, her supervisor called her into the office, and with no warning, she was informed that she was being let go. The reason? A complaint from a customer who accused her of stealing mail and tossing it in the trash. The trash, however, contained more than just discarded letters. It contained critical documents, including her son's birth certificate, evidence of her identity. Lasagna was stunned. She knew the accusation wasn't true, but with no proof to defend herself, she found herself helpless in the face of the accusation. As the days passed, the truth began to sink in. It wasn't just an unfortunate misunderstanding. It was Larry, the very person who claimed to love her, who had orchestrated the entire thing. He had set her up to lose her job, another sinister move to tighten his grip on her. But despite the crushing blow, Lasagna refused to let it break her. She kept pushing forward, determined to rebuild her life and prove that no matter how many times he tried to bring her down, she wouldn't give up. However, this time, when she found an apartment that seemed perfect, her hopes would be dashed again. Larry had set up a fake ad to lure her in. When she arrived at the location, he was waiting for her. He begged her to come back, and when she refused, he threatened her. Lasagna, fearing for her life and the safety of her loved ones, reluctantly returned with him. She hoped this would be the last time, but as she returned to his control, she began to plan her next escape. This time, she wouldn't leave without her son. What unfolded next would reveal just how far Larry was willing to go and just how brutal the consequences of his actions would be. On February 14th, 2021, Valentine's Day, as Lasagna got into her car planning to head out, she suddenly heard a noise coming from the back of the vehicle. Confused and alarmed, she stopped and got out to investigate. To her shock, she discovered Larry hidden in her trunk, waiting for her to start the car. But it didn't end there. In a twisted and unsettling gesture, he had placed a Valentine gift on the back seat, as if this horrifying act was his version of affection. The sickening irony wasn't lost on Lasagna, who now understood just how far he was willing to go to control her. Terrified and desperate to protect herself and her family, Lasagna couldn't stay in her own home any longer. She began moving between hotels, always looking over her shoulder, knowing that Larry's obsession had reached dangerous new heights. She feared that the next person to fall victim to his rage could be someone she loved. But what made her situation even more unbearable was the cold indifference of those around her. Her friends and family, though sympathetic, were hesitant to step in. They believed, maybe even expected, that Lasagna would eventually return to Larry just as she had done before. The cycle of abuse had set a disturbing precedent, leaving Lasagna feeling more isolated than ever. That was until Lasagna's life took a terrifying and unexpected turn. On February 21st, 2021, security cameras captured an event so chilling it shocked everyone.
I guess he's ready to
waiting for him to shut the door.
Yeah.
So it looks like he left.
He left
and came around the corner, came back around.
So your brother moved, and that's when he's standing up behind the car.
For her to park, right.
Yeah.
Because he had moved the chair out the way.
Mm-hmm. Look, she's parking.
Yeah, he moved the chair out the way so she could park.
So look, he's coming back again. Oh my God!
He backed back once she parked.
When see her parking, it happens in less than a minute. He's coming out. Look, you're gonna see him. He spoke with her something, and then he comes out of the car. And when he start with her, with your daughter. You see, he's coming out.
He shot her, my brother, and my sister was running, so he shot my sister.
What was meant to be an ordinary day for Lasagna quickly spiraled into a nightmare. After a long day at work, Lasagna returned to her apartment in the 7800 block of South Munson in Chicago. The last thing she expected was for her abusive ex, Larry, to show up. She had been through so much already, living in fear, trying to escape, and doing everything she could to protect her son, but nothing could have prepared her for what happened next. Lasagna parked her car in front of her building and sat there for a moment, lost in thought. But just as she was about to get out of the car, another car pulled up beside hers. It was Larry, a man she had once trusted, a man she had once loved, but now he was the source of her worst nightmares. Larry spoke to her through the car window, pleading with her to come back to him. Lasagna, feeling the weight of everything she had been through, refused. She stood her ground and told Larry to leave, but Larry was not ready to walk away, at least not yet. His desperation, anger, and need to control her were stronger than ever. Lasagna's uncle, who had been standing nearby, sensing the rising tension, tried to intervene, but before anyone could act, Larry did something unexpected and horrifying. He got out of his car, pulled out a gun, and aimed it at Lasagna's uncle. Without warning, he fired. Lasagna's uncle collapsed to the ground, wounded but still alive. Lasagna, in a panic, tried to run toward her house, but Larry wasn't done yet. He turned the gun on her and began firing at point-blank range. Lasagna was hit multiple times. She fell to the ground in agony, her body racked with pain. But Larry didn't stop there. He then turned to the car where their young son was sitting and unloaded multiple rounds into it, emptying the entire clip.
And my sister was running, so he shot my sister.
And you know what?
Then he shot in the car again at her.
Yeah, and
because his car was rolling and he had to get in.
That's the only way he drive away, because the car started driving himself.
The bullets flew, shattering the air around them. Miraculously, despite the chaos and bloodshed, Lasagna's son survived. He had witnessed the horrific event unfold, unable to understand the gravity of what was happening. His young mind struggled to process it as he tried to comfort his mother. "Come on, Mama," he said, trying to soothe her in her final moments of consciousness.
The baby crawls out the car.
The baby crawls through her. And then that's when it happened, like when I start calling the 911 to get out the kid on the way. Because, in my mind I thought
he was going to come back.
Coming back and, start again. And I told my husband, let's move away the baby from there.
It was a heartbreaking scene. A child, too small to understand, was forced to watch his father try to kill his mother. The gunfire sent neighbors scrambling for cover, but it also drew them to the scene. People started calling for help, and in those frantic moments, the police arrived on the scene.
To attend the chilling story of what's happened to another Chicago mother. She was shot 11 times in a cold-blooded She is thankful to be alive and tonight demands some answers. NBC5's Regina Waldrop live with her story tonight. Regina?
Stephan, what an amazing story of survival. This young woman says three people identified the her ex-boyfriend, also the father of her young son, to police. But tonight, no community alert, no charges. The only thing police telling us, this case still being investigated.
Larry, realizing the extent of his crime, fled the scene immediately. But before he ran, something even more shocking happened. He went live on Facebook. His Facebook Live confession was chilling. It was raw, filled with regret, anger, and confusion. He rambled about how much pain he was in, about how much he loved Lasagna, and about how he felt like there was no turning back from what he had just done. Larry admitted that he didn't even know what had made him snap, but the damage had been done.
I love that woman dearly, bro. I love her dearly, bro. I love that lady dearly, bro. I'll never see another birthday. It's over with, Joe. If you love me, nigga, say that shit. Cause this gonna be the last time they never say it. If you love me, nigga, you really love me, nigga, call my phone, cause it's gonna be the last time you gonna be able to say it, Joe. I just f***ed up. And ain't nothing I can do about it. Ain't nothing I can do about it. I just f***ed up, bro. And that shit with me. That shit got me. Let's do everything away. Ain't no coming back from this, bro. Ain't no coming back from this shit, bro. Ain't no point in me. Ain't no point in me going against no. If any motherfucker got a problem with me, let that know right now. Let that know right now.
Larry openly acknowledged that he knew the police would soon be coming for him. He said it was the end and there was no escaping what was coming next.
I ain't running. I've been on a run over a year and a half. I'm not running from these people no more, bro. They come get me, bro. They come get me, bro. They come get me. That's all I'm gonna say is they come get me, Joe. My soul, and they better come ready. They better come ready. My soul.
As the camera rolled, he tried to justify his actions, claiming he had been talking to a friend about feeling trapped as if he were losing control of his life. He wanted people to understand what was in his heart, as if offering an explanation would make his actions more comprehensible. Larry expressed a twisted sense of victimhood, believing that once the authorities caught him, they would ruin his reputation, painting him as far worse than he thought he was. But the most unsettling part of the video was the clear realization that even Larry understood the gravity of his deeds. No matter how much he tried to explain himself, it was evident that he knew there was no real justification for what he had done. The police quickly identified Larry as the prime suspect in the shooting. Witnesses from the neighborhood had seen him fire the gun. They had seen the violent altercation unfold, and many were in disbelief that someone could commit such a heinous act in daylight. However, Larry didn't just shoot at Lasagna and her family. He shot at their very future, at the safety they had been struggling to build. Lasagna, despite being shot 11 times, survived the attack. She was rushed to the hospital in critical condition where doctors worked tirelessly to save her life. The bullets had torn through her body, striking her pelvis, right leg, and liver. But miraculously, none of the shots hit vital organs, and she pulled through. Her uncle, though seriously wounded with 8 bullet wounds, also survived the attack. It was a miracle that anyone lived through the horror of that day, but the emotional scars would last forever. Her grandmother, too, had been caught in the crossfire, but survived, though she, too, would carry the trauma of that day for the rest of her life. Lasagna's survival against all odds was nothing short of a miracle, but in the aftermath, she was left with both physical and emotional wounds that would take a long time to heal. While Lasagna was recovering in the hospital, Larry was on the run. He had fled the scene of the crime, but the police quickly launched an extensive manhunt. They scoured Chicago and beyond, searching for the man responsible for this horrific attack, and soon he would be found. After weeks of searching, the police tracked Larry down to Louisiana, where he had been hiding in an apartment on Mary Jane Street in Mansura. He was arrested without incident and brought back to Chicago to face justice. Larry was charged with multiple crimes, including 3 counts of attempted murder and 3 counts of aggravated battery. For Lasagna and her family, Larry's capture marked a turning point. While the physical pain was still fresh, the emotional burden began to lift. They knew that Larry's arrest would mean some form of justice, But they also knew that nothing would ever erase the trauma of that day.
I just thank God I'm here.
Still here after getting 11 times, she says, by an abusive ex-boyfriend.
He only hit me 11 times. That's how many times he hit me. This doesn't count the holes on my car.
While she doesn't want you to see her face as she recovers in the hospital,
He mostly hit my pelvis and my right leg.
Larry's arrest brought a sense of closure to Lasagna, but it didn't fix the damage that had been done. She had lost so much: her sense of security, her trust in others, and the ability to live freely without fear. The emotional scars would remain with her for the rest of her life, a constant reminder of the man she once loved and the violence he had inflicted on her and her family. As Lasagna continued to recover physically, her emotional healing would take much longer. She struggled with the idea of moving forward after such a violent betrayal from someone she had loved. The man who had shared a child with her, the man she had once trusted with her heart, was now the one who had nearly taken her life. That alone would take a toll on anyone. But through it all, Lasagna found herself clinging to one undeniable truth: her son. Lasagna's story is a stark reminder of how domestic violence can escalate and how those who suffer from it are often caught in a vicious cycle of fear, manipulation, and control. Lasagna's bravery in the face of her abuser, Larry, is nothing short of remarkable. Her decision to take legal action, her efforts to move away, and her resilience through the hardships were key moments that ultimately allowed her to survive. But unfortunately, not everyone gets out alive. We have to remember, violence should never be tolerated, and the signs of abuse must be taken seriously. Domestic violence can happen to anyone, and it's crucial that we all work together to support those who need help. Lasagna's journey is far from over, but she is one step closer to reclaiming her life. Let her story inspire you to help someone else who might be living in silence. If you see the signs of abuse in someone close to you, don't stay silent. It could be the call for help that saves a life. What do you think about it? Let us know in the comments below. And if you found this story intriguing, please like, share, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this.